Hello, welcome to the product showcase here at Kensium. I'm Nathan Masserang, the training specialist over here at Kensium, and I'm happy to be showcasing the TaxCloud integration for Acumatica. Kensium's happy to provide this integration that we've developed because it really helps e-commerce merchants at all steps of the ordering process. Tax law is a beast in the United States, very challenging to navigate all of these different tax laws from state to municipality. So what we have here with our TaxCloud integration is it gives merchants an opportunity to quickly validate addresses to ensure they're shipping and taxing at the correct rate, and then quickly add that taxable amount to your sales order or to your invoice that you're creating here. All right, so let's get started talking about TaxCloud and how we set this up here within the system. So once we publish our TaxCloud integration package here to our local Acumatica instance, what we'll see is a plugin has now been added for your tax providers. It's really important that this is an external tax providers are enabled, so we can add this plugin here for TaxCloud. Once we create this new provider, we can test our connection after we add in our API information, our request timeout in seconds, and our enable address check before tax calculation to ensure the taxes are correct. We're going to test our connection just to make sure that we're all good. And once we get the all clear, we'll be able to start validating addresses and ensuring that the correct taxable amount is being added onto your orders. So it looks like the connection was successful. And the next step, what we're going to do is we'll be able to click here to set up our TIC codes, or our tax identification codes, as tax categories. This is really an important step here. We've already done this in our system, so our tax categories that have been created are now being pulled directly from TaxCloud. This is really important because now these tax categories can be assigned to item classes and items, so the correct taxable amount is being set up for not only the area that the item is being shipped to, but also the type of item that's being added there. As some states, some municipalities and counties tend to charge different tax rates based on different items. So once we have that set up, we want to make sure that we are also enabling an address provider. Here we have our address provider that we've added here, and we've added our TaxCloud address validation provider that's also a part of our customization project that we published. Same process as before, we'll add in our API ID and key, as well as our request timeout, and we can test our connection. This will ensure that our addresses are being validated once we've added them here. We'll also see that in our tax ID, we'll have this set up here, which is our external tax provider for TaxCloud. From here, we'll be able to set up a tax ID, as well as add any categories that need to be added, or any tax zones. We can also take a look here at our tax zones, which we've set up with a tax zone ID for TaxCloud, our provider ID, and our TaxCloud agency, which is a tax agency we've set up as a placeholder, is a vendor. Once we've added all of this together with our provider, which is our external plugin, we'll be able to save this and then move on. So now that we see our tax categories have also been imported, so you'll see here, all of these tax categories that we have added have been imported directly from TaxCloud. So it's ensuring that we are taxing the correct amount for the items that we are going to be adding on to our sales orders. So before we start adding items and calculating taxes, I want to show the address validation functionality that we have here. So I'm going to go over here into our customers and show you this customer that I've created. Our customer account, I've put in the correct postal code here. So this is not the correct postal code for this address, but what I'll do is I'll go to Actions, and I can validate my addresses by clicking Validate Addresses. What we'll see here when this comes up is an error message popping up next to the postal code. So as you can see, This address that we've added here has an incorrect postal code. And when we hover over the error, we're able to see that there is a correct zip code that we'll be able to add here. We'll add this, and then we can revalidate the address. It looks like we've been validated now that the checkbox has been added in our validation box and everything has been added correctly into the address. This will take out a huge step in the process, so we don't have to validate this on the sales order level. We can simply validate it on the customer level. We'll save the customer, and now we can get to placing orders and calculating the correct tax. Now we'll go over into our sales order, and we'll select the customer we just created. From here, we can add stock items if we'd like. So what I'm going to select here is a computer or two. So I'll select our computer. We're going to select a quantity of 2. And we're going to make sure we're setting in one of the tax categories we've imported here. Now, this can be established here at the line item level of the sales order, or we can do this for the entire item class that we have here. So we can set up a tax category for that item class. So all of them will be added here. So for example, what we were looking at earlier was computers. And I'm going to select our computer tax category that we have here. This tax category has now been added with the tax details. So we won't see it right away from TaxCloud, but once we save the order and ensure that we're adding in the correct tax zone, we'll see here that our taxable amount will add with our TaxCloud integration. So I'm going to go over into our financial settings. I'm going to override the tax zone that we have here and add in the customer tax zone for this customer, which is TaxCloud. Now I'm going to go over into my shipping settings and select a ship via. Once I do this and save the order, we'll see that a tax total has now been updated. And now what we're going to do is we're going to navigate over into our site that we have with TaxCloud. So we're going to look at our TaxCloud site. And when I refresh our transactions list that we have here, we'll see that our new transaction has been added here. So I'm going to click this open, and we'll see this is our transaction as we have added here. So that taxable amount's been added, and we get that breakdown from the computer tax category we have here, the rate that it's being taxed here in Chicago. So typically what you'll see when you go to Chicago and you get a transaction is that it's just going to say 10.25 for your tax rate. Here we have that breakdown of the state, county, and city taxes that are being added on here. So you'll be able to see this information from the transaction level here with the sales order that we have added. So our sales order is the cart ID that we have here. The address that we have that's been validated has been added. The transaction line item levels with the taxable amounts for each line item we're adding. And you'll see the API lookup here indicating that the sales order has been created. So our lookup indicating that it has been created. The reason why you'll see this here is because that API call recognized that we overrode the tax zone we had there, and you'll also see that we selected that ship via. So it is recognizing that and sending that API call out to TaxCloud to then show here within TaxCloud. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to continue processing this order here. And when we process this order, you'll see that it will go from authorized to captured. So authorized will happen once the shipment is created, captured when the invoice is released. So we're going to go back to our order that we have here. As you can see, the taxable amount's been added. And we're going to create our shipment for this now. So once our shipment's created, we'll just confirm our shipment that we have here as well as our ship via. So we'll take a look at our shipping settings we have here. Our packages will confirm that. And then we're going to confirm our shipment. So now that that's done, we'll click Prepare Invoice. And this will now send over that authorization. So we went from lookup to authorization here. In our TaxCloud transactions, when we go look at the transaction we've made, we'll scroll down here and we'll see that now it's gone from lookup to authorized here with our key icon that we have added, along with our invoice that we have created now. So I'll go take a look at this transaction and we'll see here that now our invoice has been added and the API has been authorized. So now our transaction has doubled up here. We see that we have our API lookup and then the authorized here. So now we're 2 steps into the process. Now, when I go back to Acumatica, we're going to move this from authorized to captured, and that's happening upon the release of that invoice. So I'm going to release the invoice that we've created. And when that is released, it will send that API call back to TaxCloud, and we'll see that now the transaction we have here has now been changed. It's now going to be as captured. So I'll go back to TaxCloud. We'll take a look at our transactions. And we'll see now this is at captured, this blue truck icon. So the order is captured, and we'll go back here and we'll take a look and see that our API history has captured that transaction. So we're simply going through the authorization and capturing process to let them know that these tax funds have settled here within Acumatica, and we have those funds in a cash account. We've captured the taxable amount from our customer, and it has been captured. So this makes things a little bit easier when it goes time to report these taxes. We'll see here that these funds have settled and we have them in a certain place. This is all happening during the configuration process where we're setting up the cash accounts where this funds will be added. That taxable amount is added onto the sales order, the funds are captured, and we'll also see them captured upon invoice release here within TaxCloud. So the last step I'd like to show you here is what we're going to do is we're going to do a refund of this order. So once the order has been refunded, we will see that it is now added as a canceled transaction here within TaxCloud. So I'm going to go back here to Acumatica. And what we'll see is I'm going to create a new sales order. And I'm going to create an RC for this. So a return for credit. We'll then select our customer. And then we're going to add our invoice. So this is our invoice that we just created. I'm going to add and close, release it from our holds, and we'll create a receipt for it. And now that we have it added, we're going to go back into our financial settings and make sure we're overriding that tax zone again. So to ensure that we also have that correct taxable amount, what we're going to do is add that TaxCloud tax zone. I'm going to save it. We'll see that our tax details did get updated, just as we saw before. We'll release it from hold, and then we'll create our receipt for it. So we're going to go through the process of creating that shipment, as well as creating that invoice and releasing that invoice. And now we'll release our credit memo that we just have here. So our credit memo has been released. Now, when we go back to our transactions in the TaxCloud site, you'll see that now the invoice that we used before has been a returned order. The total is now 0 because we've canceled out this item here. So we've returned these items. The return date you'll see here. And you'll also see the API has notified that it's been returned here by TaxCloud. So that return has happened and the new total's been posted. TaxCloud is highly customizable and quickly automated with your system. It can be set up to have quickly made tax zones for all of your customers, as well as validating all of their addresses at the customer or on the sales order level. TaxCloud as a service is one of the most competitively priced services within the market, and it's definitely a great choice for people that are looking to start with an automated tax service with their Acumatica ERP.